This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 more bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Nea Mangawang, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines. Hundreds are missing and an unknown number feared dead after a partly built hydropower dam in Southeast Laos collapsed due to heavy rain. In the Philippines, agriculture and infrastructure damage due to monsoon rains now at 1.4 billion pesos. And floating football pitch keeps Thai tourist blues at bay. Hundreds are missing and an unknown number feared dead after a partly built hydropower dam in Southeast Laos collapsed after heavy rain and sent a wall of water surging through 6 villages. Lao News Agency said the accident happened on Monday evening near the border with Cambodia, releasing 5 billion cubic meters of water, which can fill more than 2 million Olympic swimming pools. The agency said there were several human lives claimed and several hundreds of people missing, while some 6,600 people have been made homeless as authorities scrambled to evacuate villagers. Communist Laos is traversed by a vast network of rivers, and several dams are being built or planned in the impoverished and landlocked country, which exports most of its hydropower energy to neighboring countries like Thailand. Aerial footage posted on the Facebook page of local news outlet ABC Lao showed a vast ground inundation swamping houses and jungle alike over a huge area. Another video showed families waiting for rescue on the rooftop of their house, with a nearby Buddhist temple partially submerged. Nearly 24 hours after the collapse, local authorities said they were struggling to gauge the extent of the disaster. Dam projects in Laos, mainly providing power to neighboring countries, have long been controversial, with fears over environmental damage and the impact on local communities who are often displaced. Maureen Harris, an expert on Laotian dams at the International Rivers NGO, said the flooding raised major questions about dam standards and dam safety in Laos, including their appropriateness to deal with weather conditions and risks. Meanwhile, the South Korean partner in a Lao hydropower dam said Wednesday it discovered the upper part of the structure had washed away 24 hours before it collapsed, engulfing villages and leaving hundreds missing. The wall of water unleashed Monday by the failure of the dam in the country's southeast surged downstream, sweeping away homes and leaving an unknown number of people feared dead. SK Engineering Construction, a South Korean builder that is one of the partners in the project, said it discovered the damage to an auxiliary dam at around 9 p.m. Sunday local time. In a statement, they said, quote, "We immediately alerted the authorities and began evacuating nearby villagers downstream." It said repair work was hampered by heavy rain, which had damaged roads, and early on Monday, water was discharged from the Senamnoy Dam, one of the 2 main dams in the project, to try to relieve pressure on the auxiliary structure. The government was warned about further damage to the dam at around noon, prompting an official evacuation order for villagers downstream, and the structure collapsed a few hours later. Here in the Philippines, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRMC, said on its 6 a.m. Wednesday update that the damage to agriculture and infrastructure caused by the southwest monsoon enhanced by tropical cyclones Henry, Inday, and Josie has been placed at 1,377,000,000 90,105 pesos. NDRM's Executive Director Ricardo Halad said this can be broken down into 896,721,105 pesos for agriculture and 480,369,000 for infrastructure. Damages were reported in regions 1, 2, 3, 4A, 4B, 6, and the Cordillera Administrative Region. Also, 566 areas in regions 1, 3, 4A, 4B, CAR, and National Capital Region have reported flooding, in which floodwaters have already subsided in 321 localities. Halad added that 99 road sections and 8 bridges were affected by inclement weather in regions 1, 3, 4A, 4B, 6, CAR, and NCR. The NDRRMC chief also reported that fatalities to the above-mentioned weather disturbances have now reached 8, along with 1 injured and 1 missing. To other news, ahead of Cambodia's elections, Hun Sen has supported the founding of new generation schools across the country, state-of-the-art institutions boasting science labs and tablet computers. But while these schools have lofty ambitions, the majority of institutions are rooted in a more prosaic reality with leaking roofs and no chalk. Take a look.
This year in Cambodia, some students are receiving their graduation diplomas from the Prime Minister himself. As the elections draw near, Hun Sen has made education a focus of his campaign. In Cambodia, young people are seen as a key group. In 2013, they voted mostly for the opposition. New generation schools like this one in Phnom Penh have opened across the country. Here, students enjoy well-furnished classrooms, tablet computers, and tech courses. The program is accused of being elitist. Not so, says the school's headmaster.
These schools are not only for children of high officials or for the rich and successful. We allocate 30% of seats to children of poor families, and we help all students in a fair way.
There are hundreds of children looking for places, and students are selected through a lottery system and entrance exams. But the generous resources available at the new generation schools are largely out of reach for the rest of the country.
Not only are there no modern equipment such as computers and other things in schools, there aren't even enough books for teachers to teach and for students to study in most schools in the country at all levels.
100 kilometers from here in the province of Kampong Cheng, it's a whole different story. Classes are taught on blackboards. Often this teacher buys chalk out of his own pocket. One of the classrooms is unusable, and in another, the roof is in tatters.
When it rains, the water leaks from the roof and ruins or wets the students' books. It's very difficult when it rains. We can't study because the rain makes loud noises on the roof.
Hun Sen is promising schooling for all. Education spending has risen to $850 million, a quarter of the overall government budget. But rampant corruption still looms over the system, leaving non-discriminatory schooling a distant dream for most.
Meanwhile, the Agrarian Reform Consortium has called on the government to cancel $200 million loan from World Bank because the activities that will be funded by loan is nothing to do with agrarian reform. KPA Secretary General Dewika Tika pointed out in a press release obtained by the Jakarta Post that agrarian reform is not a land registration program. She explained that agrarian reform was an effort to resolve a country or region's disparity in land ownership, with small farmers and indigenous people controlling very small plots of land to use as a source of income. Previously, Agrarian and Spatial Planning Minister and National Land Agency head Sofyan Jalil announced that World Bank had agreed to disburse a $200 million loan for an agrarian reform program. World Bank said in a statement that the fund would be used to finance One Map program, which will help land users obtain clarity and security of tenure and access to land and natural resources. However, Dewi said the government and World Bank could not claim that the fund would be used to fund the acceleration of land reform when the activity contradicted the very definition of agrarian reform itself. She said agrarian reform should be able to resolve prolonged agrarian conflicts by introducing a policy that could recover people's control of the land. ASEAN in Focus will be right back. Please stay with us.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eager news, because we live in interesting times.
Mula po sa kapisanan Iskar.
Mula po sa mga Diakono at Diakonesa sa lokal ng Abu Dhabi, ay bumabati po kami ng Happy 104th Anniversary ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa buong mundo!
Welcome back. A study by digital payments provider Visa has found that Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia are the Southeast Asian markets most hit by wanderlust. Singaporeans took an average of 6.62 international trips in the last 2 years, both business and leisure, while travelers from Thailand made 5.72 trips and Malaysians left the country 5.08 times. The average for the Asia Pacific was 2.7 trips compared with a global average of 2.5 trips. Holiday makers and business people from Singapore also topped the Asia Pacific when it comes to their travel plans, with 6.58 international trips planned on average for the next 2 years. Travelers from Thailand, meanwhile, are eyeing 5.98 trips on average. Thailand, billed the land of 1,000 smiles, has also been picked as a top 5 destination in Southeast Asia. It was visited by 36% of Singaporean travelers over the last 2 years, as well as 18% of regional travelers and 13% of visitors worldwide. It drew a record 35.4 million visitors in 2017. Around the region, Chinese travelers are also heavy jet setters, making an average of 5.81 trips in the past 2 years and planning 6.21 trips in the next 2. More than 3/4 of small and medium-sized enterprises in Singapore plan to expand in the Southeast Asian region, according to a report released in July. The ASEAN bloc was picked as an expansion venue for 77% of respondents, against 22% eyeing China and 15% looking to South Asia. The survey, commissioned by the Singapore Business Federation and carried out by HSBC, polled more than 1,000 companies between November 2017 and March 2018. Indonesia and Malaysia were key target markets, followed by Vietnam, Thailand, and Myanmar, with ASEAN-friendly businesses coming from the wholesale and retail trade, manufacturing, and financial and insurance construction sectors. But business executives still saw question marks hanging over issues such as economic and political conditions in the region, with perceived difficulty in getting permits and licenses as another barrier to expansion. Other concerns include a lack of market knowledge and difficulties finding local support for their operations. Respondents also cited a lack of clear, accessible information on plans for ASEAN economic integration and free trade deals as an obstacle to their companies. The Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, or CEZA, said about 20,000 jobs in financial technology or fintech will open up as soon as it awards the initial 25 principal licenses to be made available to qualified fintech companies. In a statement Tuesday, CESA Administrator and Chief Executive Officer Raul Lambino said these job openings must be filled by highly skilled information technology or IT talents. Along with them, qualified people will be needed to fill highly technical as well as managerial positions that are also seen to become available. These employment opportunities in CESA will be backed to fintech operations at the Cagayan Special Economic Zone and Freeport, or CSEZF, which is also eyed to be the country's hub for fintech activities such as offshore virtual currency exchange, initial coin offering, blockchain development, and other fintech solutions. Lambino mentioned that a fintech facility will rise on a 10-hectare property at the CSEZF in Santa Ana, Cagayan, will house the back offices of the fintech firms. The CESA chief said the Investment Promotion Agency has granted financial technology solutions and offshore virtual currency license to 3 firms: Golden Millennium Quick Pay, Ultra Precise Investment Limited, and Leonet Technology Limited. Meanwhile, Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc in early April urged greater vigilance against cryptocurrency transaction and investment, while using cryptocurrencies as means of payment is prohibited in Vietnam. The State Securities Commission of Vietnam, the country's stock market watchdog, requested securities trading organizations to refrain from offering services in consulting, brokering, issuing, or transacting cryptocurrencies. Virtual currencies, especially Bitcoin, have sparked fever worldwide. In Vietnam, Bitcoin drew significant market attention despite experts warning about its risks and the lack of a regulatory framework. Given its extreme volatility and lack of regulation, cryptocurrencies in general, and Bitcoin in particular, can pose potential risks to investors. On the other hand, as explained by the SBV, Bitcoin transactions are anonymous and can be used for money laundering, drug trafficking, tax evasion, and illegal payments. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Samantha Suarez and I'm reporting here from Gainesville, Florida. Behind me is the Florida Museum of Natural History, home to a butterfly rainforest featuring hundreds of butterflies from across the world. Do you know another place that has sites from across the world? Well, check out Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. And I am one with 25.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave some love by giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe here at ABC Digital Nest so you don't miss any of our upcoming features.
Mula po sa lokal ng Abu Dhabi, distrito ng UAE South, ay bumabati po kami ng Happy 50th Anniversary ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa Malayong Kanluran!
Welcome back. The World Cup may be over, but passion for the game burns bright in the world's largest refugee camp, where Brazil and Argentina flags still flutter alongside the red and green of Bangladesh, which hosts nearly 1 million Rohingya Muslims forced out of Myanmar. Take a look.
আর আমার তো অনেক ভালো লাগছে নেমালকে একজন আমি অসুরে কাটিং দিছি এরকম অনেক সুন্দর লাগছে এর জন্য আমি সুরে কাটিং দিছি আর অনেক ভালো লাগছে ফুটবল খেলার আর
I wear the German jersey, but I don't like it most because I am a great fan of Argentina.
Selfie.
Finally, in today's program, while Thailand's tourism industry has taken a battering in recent months, the local football team in a Muslim fishing village perched on stilts above the sea in one of Thailand's most famous bays is still drawing visitors, principally because they play on a hand-built floating pitch. Watch this.
This floating football pitch in southern Thailand is unforgiving. Any mistake and the game has to stop. But since being built, it has helped transform the island community of Panyi. The first version of the pitch was constructed nearly 30 years ago, but was made of wood and was even harder to play on, so the local kids at the time had to look elsewhere.
In the past, I played on a sand beach over there. We had to take the boat there to practice. Then we came back to the island and played on a small floating wooden pitch, where we had to avoid nails coming up. It was risky and dangerous, but we had to play on it because we had no pitch.
This latest nail-free incarnation was created in 2010 as part of an advertising campaign by a Thai bank, and since the ad was aired, it's become increasingly popular with tourists. And that has helped local restaurants and businesses flourish and stopped all the young migrating to the mainland in search of work.
Jobs here are better than on the mainland. The young can find money easier here. They can earn thousands of baht driving canoes. They've got good incomes. There have been a lot of people from outside who've moved here.
The population of the island has increased by a third in the past decade. New structures are constantly springing up. And despite the fact the island now has a concrete pitch with netting around it, the island's chief is keen to maintain the floating version.
I think we should keep the football pitch for our children and grandchildren, because we can say that the floating pitch is unique to the village.
Having to twist and turn and keep the ball close has undoubtedly helped the football team improve their skills, as a small mistake can mean a trip into the water. The village team has won several league titles, a success story both on and off the pitch.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Nea Mangawang, always one with 25.